I'm here today with Dr. Mike Mallin, emergency medicine physician, and we're going to be talking about fasting. So first of all, how do we define fasting?
Well, fasting is not eating. And there's lots of ways to not eat, but typically what we hear about these days is something called time-restricted feeding, where you only eat during certain times of the day, or actual fasting, where you're going periods of time without taking in that food.
Got it. And how does fasting impact our health?
In so many ways. I mean, believe it or not, the average American eats 15 hours a day, which means that they're basically eating when they go to bed and then immediately when they wake up. And if you eat like that, you don't give your body the opportunity to sort of clear out the byproducts of metabolism from the day. And your cells need that. They're not used to being in an anabolic, let's build state all the time. They need that opportunity to turn off for a little while and to clear up some of those proteins, those broken down proteins that you've created throughout the day.
What if some of the studies that are looking specifically at time-restricted feeding or prolonged fasting, what are they telling us about decreased risk of different chronic diseases?
Lots of things. So we're seeing decreased rates of obesity, improved blood pressure, decreased insulin resistance, better lipids, lower cardiovascular disease, decreased cancer and inflammation risks. So quite a few improvements in life just by not eating all the time. And it's really interesting that you could do something as simple as just not eat every hour of the day and have this kind of effect on your life.
And there's obviously a lot of different ways you can implement this. So in a practical sense, how might you go about incorporating fasting?
So the two ways I like to recommend to people is either time-restricted feeding, which is basically only eating for a certain number of hours during the day. And there's lots of ways you can do this. 12 and 12 is good. 16-8 is okay, where you would basically not eat for 16 hours, eat for 8 hours. That's one option. The other option is to have longer periods of fasting. And this would be where you do periodic fasting, anywhere from 24 hours to maybe 3, even 5 days if you're really experienced with this sort of thing, without eating, just water. And that's another way to get the same benefits. So it just depends on what your preference is.
Awesome. And are there any populations of people that maybe should avoid fasting?
Definitely, anybody with a history of eating disorders. Other people that I think about are people with chronic disease. Diabetics need to be very cognizant of this, especially if they're on insulin, as well as pregnant women, breastfeeding mothers, and athletes. I'm really careful with the fasting. It can be helpful on off phases, but when they're on on phase, they might need to be eating 15 hours a day.
Got it. So fasting is going periods without eating. There's a lot of different ways to incorporate this, whether it's time-restricted feeding or incorporating longer fasts periodically. There are a lot of health benefits that we know about. It's not for everybody, so make sure you talk to your doctor first to see if it's right for you. Thanks so much, Mike.